Welcome to Innovation and Leadership. This is Jess Larson. Today on the show, we've got part two with Bob Dalton.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of going through that for the first time because we're still a startup, and I got 10 people on my team, and on like the creative side, and I was doing a lot. I was overseeing all of the creative and aesthetic direction of our company for a really long time.
CEO, founder of Sackcloth and Ashes blanket company. If you missed part one, please go back and listen to that. He's doing the one-for-one model where when you buy one of his blankets, they donate one to a homeless shelter in your zip code. But Bob, when we were ending off part one, we were talking about persistence and sticking with it even when it's not easy. And when you're trying to start the blanket company, you got 180 no's in order to get the 20 companies, the 20 shops to carry your blanket. When you think about this idea of like a lot of times, persistence is genius as persistence in disguise. Do you have any thoughts about when we do have somebody say something really unhelpful to us and we start to doubt ourselves, things that you used to help kind of like light the fire again and go after it anyways?
Yeah, I think my situation may be a little bit unique in the sense that I didn't have any other options. Like if I didn't keep moving forward, it just wouldn't work. So there would be no sackcloth and ashes. It's not like I had like a fallback,
Yeah.
So my drive through it was I have to continue to move forward if I wanted to keep going. Like the first, I would say hurdle I had was realizing that I can't sew. And I feel like most, a lot of entrepreneurs would give up at that particular mark. It's like, oh, I have this idea and I'm pursuing it. And then, oh, I can't do the first thing, that you realize you can't do. And so it's easy to give up on it and move to the next idea. And I think that persistence is the only way that an idea is going to continue to work, is just not giving up. And I think that my belief in the idea just outweighed all of kind of the discouragement that could have come from all of the no's that I was given.
Yeah. It's funny because everybody listening to this has heard that before, right? But it doesn't mean that it's not true. I guess my question is, when you think about having this idea and how long you sat around thinking about it, dreaming about it, but not taking action, and then when you actually did take action, any thoughts for folks who they have an idea, they know something innovative they want to work on for the organization, they really want to help their team push to a new level, but they've just been thinking about it? Any thoughts, any tips for how to get over the hump and start taking those first steps?
Yeah. So there was one winter that I would come home every day and I'd walk into my house and I'd ask my wife, I'm like, babe, super cold out. It's freezing out. Would you mind making me some hot tea? And she would make me some tea. She'd bring it out to me and I'd have a sip of it and I'd set it on the coffee table and I wouldn't drink any more of it. I'd just have a sip. Next day I'd come home. It's freezing cold. I'm like, hey babe, would you mind making me some tea? She'd make me some tea and she'd bring it out. I'd have a sip of it. I'd sit it on the coffee table and I didn't do anything. I didn't drink it. And so after like a week of doing this, I come home and I'm like, hey babe, would you mind making me some tea? And she like peeks her head around the corner and she's like, I think you like the idea of tea, but I don't think you actually tea. And so my only thing I could say on that is you gotta do it. You gotta drink the tea. Like, I mean, it's like, there's no other, I think that a lot of ideas are romanticized. And people like the idea of doing something, but you gotta do it.
Yeah. What if I'm a leader? What if I'm a manager? I'm a leader and, our CEO or our managing director, division leader has said that they want us to be more innovative. They want us to embrace, digital transformation or whatever it is. And I've got somebody on my team who's got some good ideas, but maybe has been romanticizing them a bit. And I need to help this team member, shrink the change, figure out what the smallest next step is and actually take that step. Any thoughts for when you don't want to ram it down somebody's throat, but you do want to help them get past dreaming about it stage? Maybe one of if they work for you, for instance.
Helping them see the benefit and feeling the benefit of the outcome. Seeing and feeling the benefit of the outcome. So early stages when I was actually hustling and dreaming this thing up, I had one of my buddies, he quit his job on the fly And I was like, hey, man, I need help. He just got promoted to a manager position and full benefits. And I was like, hey, I think I need you to quit your job and come work for me at this blanket company. And he quit his job on the spot. And him and it was fun because we were just dreaming things into existence. I remember I was speaking at this church, and we were walking, carrying blankets and boxes up these stairs. And we like stopped in the middle of the stairs, and he looked at me and he was like, we're going to be unloading boxes of blankets out of semis soon. And he helped me see that. And like maybe 6 months down the road, we were unloading boxes out of semis, of just how big the vision had grown. And so it was like I had the opportunity to have a teammate that continued to help me see and feel the feelings of the benefits of the outcome of the vision. And so if you have team members and you have ideas coming down the pipeline, you can't just talk about the ideas. You have to talk about the outcome of what's going to happen and the feeling that's going to happen if that thing actually comes about.
You know, I'm really interested that you use the word feel. I think that's something that's really underrated. I think we had 50 years of academics in the biggest universities in the world trying to tell us how rational humans are. And it's only been in the last couple decades that we've realized that the limbic system changes emotions, and that emotions are the last part of the brain that fires up before a decision gets made. It's not actually the logical part. It's our emotions about the logic, right? And, I look at your social, you guys have got such great imagery, and your videos, it does give a certain feeling. And I think there's a real temptation, especially at work, where nobody wants to be labeled as like touchy feely and not action oriented or something like that. Right. And it seems like there's an over reliance on the logical reasons why and the spreadsheet reasons why. And maybe we don't always take the time to have people like connect with the feeling of what accomplishment would feel like, and describe it out and envision it, and under the fear that somebody will label us like the guy who holds hands and sings Kumbaya or something. Any reaction to that?
I think feeling is very attached to passion, and I think you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And I think that the whole idea of rational, just like if we're only going to approach business in a very rational and thinking way, that's a very Western civilization thing to do. And in Eastern civilization, they wouldn't consider that you believed something until you actually have done it. And so there's a reality that like we can think all day long and we can say we believe that our company needs to go in a specific direction, but that's a very Western civilization to do, is just talk about it. And Eastern society would be like, hey, you don't believe something, don't say you believe something until you've actually done it. And so I think that's a maybe a little more philosophical, but I think we can't just be rational thinking beings, because you have to be a little bit crazy in order to innovate. You have to be a little bit crazy and think and feel differently if you want to make a change in the world or a change in your organization. There's a lot of things that didn't make sense about what I've done and how I've pursued things. And I think that I continue to throw myself into having a balance of the rational and the irrational. I think we have to be a little irrational if we want to create change.
Yeah, it's kind of that idea of the actions speak louder than words, right?
Yeah. I mean, we can't just theorize on how we're going to change things. We have to actually do it. And most of the time, change is an irrational thing that the majority will probably disagree on.
Yeah, so I want to talk about this for a second, actually. So when it comes to this decision of pushing ahead or realizing that our first idea may not be the best idea, right? Mm-hmm. So you're out there hustling, getting 180 no's before and then you get the 20 shops that say yes, they'll carry your blanket. Or when you're building the new marketing campaign, or you're working on some new aspect of the business, I'm interested for you of, how do you tell the difference? When people are saying, that's crazy, I don't think that's going to work. I'm interested in how you decide that whether they just don't get the vision, or whether I've been having a blind spot about something. How do you walk that balance beam of like, no, I need to have faith that what I think is going to happen, or maybe I need to have some humility to think about what I'm not seeing here. How do you navigate that?
Great question. Man, that's a tough one to answer because it's easy for me to just to say, it's funny because I think the answer is a lot to do with feeling.
Sure.
I feel a certain way that we need to go, and I have a lot of wise counsel around me to at least inform me if they think it's not going to work or if they think I'm going the wrong direction. But I am driven a lot by what I feel like we should do as a company. And it's like a deep intuition of like, there's things that I'm like, I know we shouldn't go that direction. And even though it might make sense, and then there's things that may not make sense. And I'm like, I feel like we should go that direction.
No, I identify that with that. I try to listen to as many people as I can. I try to gather as much data as I can.
Yep.
And then I try to I'm a real audiobook nerd, right? So I'll go back to some of the audiobooks that I know I felt like have imparted some wisdom on something similar. And then I'll like try and be quiet for a bit and figure out what I actually feel like between the differing opinions.
Yep.
Sounds like
that's a healthy way that I've been trying to approach a lot of major decision making in the company is like, I already have an idea of what direction we should go. And then I meet with everybody and I'm getting feedback and I'm genuinely open to learning and being challenged. And I love being challenged and I love people questioning me because it's almost like this philosophical approach of like, I have an idea of where I think we need to go. Now let's set that aside and question everything. And then I can arrive back at that thought and go, I don't think we should pull the trigger, or I think we should pull the trigger based on a collective conversation and questioning and debate. And we have so many good debates happening on our team all the time. I think that those debates have led to a lot of powerful decisions that we've made in the company for the good.
So I'm going to ask the same question. If I'm a leader, I'm a manager, I've got the team members who I'm trying to get them to become more bold. I'm trying to get them to take more risks. You know, the bosses above me keep saying we need to take more risks. We need to try new things. That's what you always hear in innovation programs, right?
Yep.
And I've got maybe more junior folks on the team who they just keep coming to me over and over of like, yeah, but what do I do? Any thoughts on how to help them like develop that creative confidence and like how to help them, consider the facts and just go with their gut and, obviously not such a big bet that you're going to ruin the business, but any thoughts about helping folks, helping the rest of the team become like that as well?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of going through that for the first time because we're still a startup and I got 10 people on my team and on like the creative side and I was overseeing all of the creative and aesthetic direction of our company for a really long time. And I had somebody that was on my team who's been with me for the last 3 years that I feel like, okay, I think you're going to be the creative director. You're the creative director. And as soon as I let go of a lot of the creative control, and I wasn't doing it blindly, like I've been working with the guy for 3 years. So I like had an idea of how he already works and thinks and creates and what direction he wants to go with the company. But, so I took a lot of time kind of mentoring and also just being very close with this person. But when I let go and he became the creative director of Sackcloth and Ashes, when he would come to me with ideas recently with, here's what I think the new website should look like, here's what I think that how the email should be designed, I'm like full creative control. I'm not like, you can come to me with a finished product and I'll give my final advice on it, but you have full creative control. And I relinquished all of that control over to him. And I think that people own what they help create. And so if you give your team an opportunity to create and you let go of control of certain areas and allow them to dream and create and have, the more that they're going to create and the more they're going to have ownership. And I think that's a really, really powerful thing for a team to start. If you have an entire team that's owning the vision, it's really powerful.
So I think about that growth process and like, every kid falls off a bike learning how to ride a bike, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess my thought is, as a leader, I think about different of our employees that I've been trying to grow into different positions. whether it's the investment fund I used to run or our media business now, right? And I'm thinking, I guess I'm asking for somebody like me who wants it done right, but yet I know they'll never develop if they don't get the chance to do it at least a little bit wrong on their way to doing it right. Any thoughts on how to learn how to bite my tongue, how to learn how to set the left and right limits where I give them enough control and I'm willing to let them do it a little bit wrong so that they can learn from the experience rather than my I don't know, my OCD-ness of wanting it to be perfect the first time every time?
Yeah, I think for me, it's also like most things, I haven't necessarily have had a huge choice in. It's I had to relinquish control because the company's growing and I had to give my time and energy to other things. So I was kind of forced to trust my team on a deeper level because I just time-wise, I couldn't do everything and I couldn't have my hands involved in everything. And so that was a big part of it. And the second part of it is I typically know, what could have a drastic impact on the company and what's not going to have a drastic impact. If it's not going to have a drastic impact on the company, then I typically am yeah, let's try it. I kind of know where the line's drawn when it comes to testing things out.
Yeah. Well, besides people going to Sackcloth and Ashes website and checking out the goods here, connecting with you guys on social, I think maybe a good place to close, obviously you guys get a lot of media attention because you're actually doing something that makes the world better. What's a question that you feel like you don't get asked or that you don't get asked enough that you wish people were asking more when you're being interviewed by the media?
What are solutions that are working?
Tell me about that.
I think that the majority of media and the majority of companies are problem focused. And I think we need to make a major shift in the business world. And I think we need to make a major shift in the nonprofit world. And we need to start focusing on solutions, things that are working. And if we're statistics based, we're not going to get that far. Most statistics are either inaccurate or they're just depressing. And we have to make a shift from statistics focused to solutions focused. And
what's an example?
So right now, as I'm studying and going to a lot of homeless shelters and trying to figure out how to go about this particular issue, it's such a complex issue, homelessness, in City Impact in San Francisco, they're located right in the Tenderloin. They provide education K through 12 for kids on the streets. And recently, there's about 3,000 homeless youth in the Tenderloin of San Francisco, which is absolutely ridiculous. And what they're doing is they're one of the first organizations in the United States right now to create a sponsorship to where you can actually sponsor a kid for $38 a month and provide education for those kids, K through 12. I think it's incredible. I think it's revolutionary. And I think that a lot of nonprofits right now are just asking for money. I think they figured out a really creative way to raise money and do it in a really personal way that's helping a really, really major issue right now. That's a solution. They created a solution to a major problem. And so I love highlighting those type of solutions. I'm dedicating the Sackcloth and Ashes platform to highlighting people and organizations that are actually making a difference in the world. I know I'm not going to change the issue of homelessness, but my goal is to highlight the people and the organizations that are.
Well, I love hearing that. I love the personal aspect of you don't feel like you're just throwing money into the wind when you know what it goes to, right? But I mean, for us, our listeners know about the charity we started that combats child trafficking called Child Rescue and youth homelessness. I mean, the foster care program and youth homelessness are so intertwined with child trafficking, trafficking of teenagers. They're almost like the same issue. They're so entwined with each other. So I love hearing about anybody like that that's tackling the issue in a meaningful way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks for making time for this. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Talk to you later. Well, that's it for the episode. One other thing I wanted to tell you about, if you'll remember the guys from Convoy in episodes back, Ken Free and Trent Mano, I went on one of their CEO trips to New York and I met a guy named Brent Thompson, very successful entrepreneur. He was former CEO of Jive Communications, big company now, I think $300 or $400 million. Anyways, he started a new company called blipbillboards.com. I'm super stoked they're a sponsor now. But I remember a year and some ago when I met him, I thought it was genius. Instead of having to buy 6 months or a year's worth of billboard for thousands of dollars, you can buy 8 seconds at a time for like 10 or 20 cents. You pick what billboard you want it on, what time of day you want it to run. And it just puts so much power in the hands of marketers and CEOs who want to try something and see if it works. You can buy as many or as few as you want, change it as many times as you want. I think now our podcast is being advertised on billboards in like 18 different states because we have these guys as sponsors. We're pretty excited about it. Hope you check out blipbillboards.com. Thanks.